Chris Evans this morning. And Chris, I'm going to spotlight you.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Chris, for being willing to speak. And you can go ahead.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I've given Way-Seeking Mind talks before, and the last one I tried less preparation. And so today I'm going to try more preparation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So Way-Seeking Mind talk, as I understand it, is who am I? How did I come to Berkeley Zen Center? And also implying, why am I still here? Born as Yoon Jung-ho in Sosa, Korea, on the side of a gentle hill, neighbors at the high side, low side, behind with tall concrete fences. We had a water well with manual pump, small vegetable garden, free-range chickens, and a traditional kitchen split level with an opening to the bedroom in order to pass the steamed rice, kimchi. The stove burned wood or coal to cook. I've since realized that kitchen often resembles photographs of ancient temples in China. I live with grandma, Ma, her name is Yunoki, and we had occasional male boarders. Played with the neighborhood kids, marbles, hide and go seek. I wandered in the hills that had trees. Highlight of my day was when Ma came home from work, had candy for me, and sometimes told me stories from her day or whatever was on my mind. Happy times. I like to think that was my Big Rock Candy Mountain. Once my ma took a branch from the apple tree. The first time I saw, my mom got angry at me and wanted to whip me as I was running away around the yard. However, my grandma intervened and to say, let it be, he's just a little kid. That night, grandma caught one of the bigger and slower chickens and made us a stew with clear broth and ginkgo nuts, and hand-fed me chunks of white breast meat with a dab of salt. We all laughed as we ate together. We had trips to the east and north near the demilitarized zone, or the DMZ, to visit family in the mountain country. Big mountains, rushing rivers. I recall cicadas on chestnut trees, strawberry farms, and knee sledding on ice over rice paddies and the lake that was dammed. The mud and straw thatched homes could be from paintings centuries ago. Remember, kids and I tried to peel the thorny chestnut covered in porcupine that pierced our soft canvas heels and our shoes. At nights, we had chestnuts roasted in charcoal, held in iron pot on the floor, telling ghost stories and fables. Ma, aunt, and a village lady went up higher into the mountains to collect herbs. They came back after a long day, one particularly long day, with tales of signs of North Korean infiltrators near caves, car tires, spent ammunition, papers with pictures and writings. Next morning, green army trucks of men with grass and tree branches stuck in their clothing, camouflage clothing, hauling black rifles and long radio antennas sticking out of their backpacks, drove up into the mountain roads. I noticed that the old man in our relatives' village houses, perhaps our grandfather, hardly talked to me or to my mom. Once he had a rabbit he had caught and was skinning it from the roof beams. When he saw me staring at it, he glared at me. That one family member was intimidating. However, the rest of our family, including the uncle with a gentle smile, were all cheerful, easygoing, and generous with all the varieties of traditional food that were made in a communal way with the village. Back at home when I was about 6, a same-age friend came over from across the street. We've been friends since we were in kindergarten custom play together. She in a country dress and I with a woodcutter's harness in a country outfit. At home, we were bowing towards the wall in a religious manner when my mom walked into the living room. We were warned sternly that idol worshiping was really, really bad. No reason was understood by me, and I was confused, since we were just having fun. My friend was sent home. I was confused. At another time, when it was discovered that I drank the leftover brass teapot for guests with cool white beverage and felt slightly ill, I was just laughed at. I certainly did not get in trouble for that. Apparently, I drank makgeolli, a fermented, unfiltered rice spirit. Bowing at the wall seemed harmless in comparison. Having no father in our house was an issue of sorts for one of our boarders, a seemingly friendly but not good-humored young man. Although I was 6 or 7, we had a debate about family that turned physical when he abruptly snatched both my legs and dropped me on my head on the stone steps. I didn't mind the blood, but I felt helpless and bewildered. One day, an impossibly large car, now describable as a sedan, drove up to our home. A tall man with a serious hat and an impressive uniform, and a lady in a dress with flowered hat came calling. Grandma and Ma were expecting them, and they withdrew into the receiving room for a chat while I practiced my marble play in the courtyard. When they left, Grandma whispered to me, as Ma was in the kitchen, that these Americans wanted to adopt me, but that they turned them down. As I had already sisters in America to join with if I had to leave. Both Ma and Grandma felt that I should stay in Korea as long as I could to gain a sense of being Korean. I had trouble sleeping that night under the thick comforter on warm, hard, lacquered floors. What sisters? What's adoption? Grandma said that my mom experienced great sadness in giving up her daughter and was now resolved to keep me. As long as possible. But being sent to America was a backup plan. Backup plan? Grandma got ill and got worse. I walked into her room. She turned her head to smile, but her smile that day was like that of a baby, not of the fun and wise grandma I fully recognized. In her hands were soiled clothes that she was mimicking hand washing while sitting up. The smell was wrong, sad. At her religious cremation ceremony outdoors with big tents, there were countless people from the town. Most of them were strangers to me. Incense burned while people wore unhappy costumes. In the din of chanting, my crying Ma asked me why I was not crying, showing no emotion. I did not know how to explain. How much hurt I was feeling and how helpless I felt in easing my crying mother. And who were all these people all of a sudden? Not long after, my ma was being shouted at in front of her house by a man. There was a crowd of people watching coldly. My friend across the street was held back by her mother, who seemed to